I've recorded everything in my life, every small detail, every little moment that I thought I might forget. My first job interview, I remember the trembling in my hands, the catch in my voice, the pause before every word. I recorded it, my wedding. Vows, the shaking of my lips, the nervous laughter hiding behind tears. I recorded that to dot my children's first words, each broken syllable, every attempt at saying, Mama, Papa. Their laughter after making mistakes, their small, eyes wide with wonder. I recorded all of it, even my own voice, late at night when the world felt still. When the house was quiet, I whispered to myself and pressed record, just to prove I still existed. But there is one sound I never captured, one voice I cannot replay, one voice that vanished before I realized I needed it the most, my mother's voice. I did not lose it in a fire. I did not delete it by mistake. No phone broke. No memory card failed. I simply never pressed record because I believed some things were permanent. Her voice felt eternal, like air, like sunlight, like the quiet hum of our house. It never seemed empty. When I was a child, her voice woke me every morning. Soft, careful, certain. Never shouting, never rushed. Wake up. She would call from the hallway, her voice brushing across my room like a soft hand, testing the day before it even began. Even now, when I close my eyes, I can almost hear it. Almost. Our house was small and old, the paint chipped in corners. The floor creaked under every step. The kettle whistled every morning. The plates clinked. The voices in the house layered together like a melody. But hers led. She spoke constantly, sometimes to me, sometimes to herself, sometimes to no one at all. She talked while cooking. She talked while cleaning. She even spoke to the walls. I used to think she'd talked too much. I did not know then that one day the silence would hurt more than any sound ever could. I remember one morning when I was 10, I hid under my blanket, not wanting to wake up. She came in quietly. Have you eaten yet? She asked. Don't forget your jacket, it's cold outside. I rolled my eyes and mumbled, I'll eat later, don't worry. She smiled gently. I thought she didn't notice, but she always did, even now. I wish I could go back and hear her voice, not as a command, not as a reminder, but as the sound of someone who loved me fiercely, quietly, without fail. Her voice was constant. It was home. It was comfort. And I took it for granted, even in my first apartment, miles away. I thought I carried her voice in my memory, but memory is fragile. I remember the words. I remember the tone, but I cannot play it back. I cannot pause it. I cannot hear her call my name in the morning, softly as if the day depended on it. I wish I could. I remember other small moments, the smell of breakfast she made while humming a tune, the sound of her slippers on the floor, the quiet swish of the broom as she swept the kitchen, the gentle rhythm of folding clothes while muttering small observations about life. All of it, once so ordinary, now painfully extraordinary. I remember how she laughed quietly to herself, sometimes when no one was around, and how even that small sound felt like love. I remember walking into the kitchen once, and she was humming a song I didn't know, and she said, Do you hear that? Even the rain has a voice today. I laughed then, thinking it was silly now. I would give anything to hear her hum once more. I recorded everything else, my own life, my children, my friends, my laughter, my tears, my fears, but never her. I remember the way she would call me after school. Did you finish your homework? Eat something before your brain gets tired. Did you drink water? She said these things softly, but firmly, always with care, always with love. I ignored her sometimes. I rolled my eyes. I complained. I rushed past her voice like it didn't matter. And now I realize how much I took for granted. Her voice was everything I didn't know I needed. It was constant, grounding, reassuring. It was love. It was safety. And I didn't press record. I wish I could go back, I wish I could hear her voice one more time. I would record it this time. And I would listen to it over and over. I recorded everything in my life, everything except my mother's voice. When I was a child, my mother's voice followed me everywhere. It woke me in the morning. Coo! And it was the last sound I heard at night. It wrapped around my days like a warm, protective blanket, comforting, unshakable, soft. She called me for breakfast every single day. Time to wake up. The tea is ready. Eat something before school. I remember the smell of the tea she brewed, sweet with a hint of cinnamon. I remember the sound of the spoon clinking the cup, faint bubbling of the water on the stove, and her voice, always gentle, always there, threading all these small sounds together. She reminded me to wash my face, comb my hair, tie my shoes properly, even when I insisted it was fine. She gently corrected me anyway. Sometimes she would say, "You'll thank me one day for these little things." I never believed her then. When I was sick, her voice changed, it softened, it became slower, more deliberate. Like she was trying to stretch her words to hold me close, she would sit by my bed for hours, not needing to talk constantly, but always, speaking just enough to let me know I wasn't alone. She brushed my hair away from my forehead, tucked the blanket, and whispered, "Sleep, my child. I'm here. You're safe." I never questioned that promise. I believed she would always be there. My father loved in silence. His love was steady, quiet, protective in a different way. But my mother's love had sound. It filled the house. It wrapped around me. It reminded me that everything would be okay if the house went silent for even a few seconds. I felt something was wrong, even as a child. I understood that her voice wasn't just words. It was reassurance, guidance, warmth. It was the soundtrack of home. As I grew older, became busy, school, friends, homework, dreams that felt bigger. Then our small house, her voice began to fade into background noise. "Where are you going? When will you be back? Did you eat?" I answered without looking. Sometimes I sighed. Sometimes I didn't answer at all. Sometimes I rushed past her voice like it didn't matter. I did not understand then thought. I was learning how to live without her voice. Even while she was still there, I remember afternoons in the kitchen, watching her prepare meals while humming quietly. The knife chopping vegetables made a rhythm she would follow with her voice, commenting softly about the day, the neighbor, the weather, small, trivial things. "Did you see the clouds today?" She said one day they looked like soft pillows. I laughed then, thinking it was silly. Now, I would give anything to hear her say something so ordinary. I remember rainy days when we were stuck inside. She would open the window just a little, the rain tapping on the glass like a gentle drum, and she would tell stories about her childhood, how she played in the rain and never feared the cold, how the rain was like a friend that visited once in a while. Her voice was in every corner of the house. It was in the kitchen, in the living room, in my bedroom. It was in the rustle of papers, in the creak of the floor, in the bubbling of the kettle. I didn't notice it then, when I finally moved out. I thought I could leave it behind. I thought freedom was silence. I thought I could live with my own recorded life. The day I moved, she stood at the door. No tears, no dramatic goodbye, just a soft smile. "Call me when you reach," she said. Her voice sounded normal, but something inside it had shifted. A subtle tremor I hadn't noticed before. A quiet hope that I would remember to call. And I didn't. Not always in my new apartment. Miles away, I recorded my life, my friends, my nights alone, my laughter, my fears, my thoughts, my work, my silence. She called every week, sometimes more often. "Do you need anything? You sound tired." And I always said, "I'm fine." I never pressed record. I thought I would always have her voice. But some things aren't permanent, even if we believe they are. I remember the small things, the sound of her slippers as she walked to the kitchen, the way she hummed while sweeping, The gentle rhythm of folding clothes while muttering small observations. All of it ordinary at the time, now extraordinary in its absence. Sometimes I think I can hear her voice in my head. Just a fragment, a syllable, and I chase it, trying to hold on to it, but it slips away, and all that remains is the memory, fading slowly. Her voice was everywhere, and now it is nowhere. Time does not break things loudly. It does it gently. It stretches. It pulls. It slips through our fingers without us realizing. When I became an adult, I thought I knew everything. I moved into my own apartment. I had work, friends, responsibilities. I recorded my life, every small detail, every laugh, every sigh, every moment I thought I might forget. And yet, I did not record her. My mother still called, still reminded me of small things. Did you eat? Have you been sleeping enough? Remember to drink water? I answered quickly. Sometimes I did not even look at the phone. I remember one afternoon, sitting at my desk, buried in emails, she called. I ignored it at first. Then reluctantly I answered, "Hello." I said, distracted. "You sound tired," she said softly. "I'm fine," I replied without thinking. There was silence on the line. I could hear her breathing, steady, patient. Then she said quietly, almost to herself, "You always say that." Didn't respond. I didn't realize how heavy those words would feel years later as time passed. Our calls grew shorter. Visits became infrequent. I told myself there would be more time. I told myself I would record her later. I told myself I would savor her voice another day. But life moves faster than we notice. I remember walking into the kitchen one evening, years after I had moved out, and imagining her there, humming softly while washing dishes. Her voice would have filled the room with calm. But I was alone in my small apartment, and the only sounds were my own thoughts and the hum of the refrigerator. I realized for the first time that distance isn't just measured in miles. It's measured in unspoken words, in missed calls. In moments that pass without noticing, I began to notice the subtle ways life had pulled us apart. The letters I never wrote, the small visits I postponed, the quiet advice I ignored. And in that quiet, I started feeling regret. Not the loud, dramatic regret. A slow, creeping ache that I carried in my chest every time I thought of her. I remembered her voice. And I realized I had never really listened. Not fully. Her voice had been my anchor, and I had let it drift away. The call came on a Tuesday. She is sick. Hospitals have a sound of their own. Machines, breathing for people. Footsteps that echo endlessly. The smell of antiseptic that lingers in the nose. I arrived quickly, my heart pounding. The nurse led me to her room. She was lying there, quiet, fragile, thinner than I remembered. Her hair, once shiny and full, now dulled. Her hands, always moving, now rested still. But the thing that struck me most, the thing that truly broke me, was her voice. It was still kind, still soft, but weaker, slower. Every word seemed like it took effort. "I am proud of you," she whispered. I leaned closer, trying to memorize every sound, every syllable, every tiny inflection. I wanted to record it, capture it forever, but it felt wrong, intrusive. And so I didn't. In the hospital, her voice came less and less. "Did you eat? Sleep well?" Questions she had asked for years, now whispered almost silently. I spent hours by her bedside, holding her hand, listening to her faint breathing, trying to hear the rhythm of the woman who had always guided me with sound. One afternoon, she tried to tell a story. Her voice cracked mid-sentence. I held her hand tighter. Tears ran silently down my cheeks. "Don't worry," I whispered. "I remember everything. Everything you said." She smiled weakly. I wanted to press record to preserve even the smallest fragment of her voice. But I didn't. Because some moments are meant to live in memory, not in digital files. Her voice became thinner each day, a faint whisper of the woman who once filled my entire childhood with sound. And in that silence, I realized I had never truly appreciated her voice when it was abundant. I had thought it would always be there. The last night before she passed, she held my hand. "I love you," she whispered. I leaned closer, trying to drink in the sound. I wanted to keep it forever. And then it was gone. After she was gone, the silence was unbearable. Not the quiet of the night, or the stillness of my apartment. No, this was deeper. A hollow, echoing silence that filled every room, every thought, every breath. I searched for her voice everywhere. I played old recordings, my own laughter, my children's voices, even the sounds of the city. Outside, but none of it was hers. I remembered the way she spoke my name, softly, deliberately, almost like a prayer. I tried to whisper it myself, to feel the memory of her voice in my mouth, but it slipped away. I walked through our old house in my mind. The smell of breakfast, the hum of the kettle, the soft thump of slippers. On the floor, I could almost see her folding clothes, humming quietly. And I thought, how could I have recorded everything else but never her? Regret became my companion. Not the loud, dramatic regret, but a slow, suffocating ache. A whisper in my chest reminding me of every call I didn't answer. Every small advice I ignored. Every moment I thought I had more time. I visited the places. She loved the small park she walked to every morning. The bakery where she bought bread. I closed my eyes and imagined her voice in the wind, laughing quietly, humming, talking to the clouds sometimes. I thought I heard her, a faint whisper in the hallway, a soft hum while folding laundry, a question in the kitchen. But when I turned, there was nothing, just the memory, just me, just the aching silence. I began to write letters to her, not to send, not to keep, just to speak the words. I wished I had heard one more time. I remember your laugh. I remember your hands warm on mine. I remember your voice. And every time I wrote, I closed my eyes and imagined her reading the letters. Her voice saying the words back to me. Not recorded, not captured in a file, but alive in my memory. I realized something important. Her voice, though gone, had left traces in everything she had taught me, in the way I spoke to my children, in the way I walked through a quiet house, in the soft attention. I now give two small things. Her voice was everywhere, even when it was no longer audible. I walked slowly through the house she left behind. I touched the cupboard doors she had polished. I ran my fingers over the table where she had folded clothes. I listened for her voice in the creak of the floor, in the hum of the fridge, in the faint breeze from the open window, and I smiled through tears, because I realized I had not lost her entirely. I carried her voice in me, in my memory, in my actions, in the way I choose to speak to those I love. Time does not stop for anyone. It moves steadily, relentlessly, silently. I sit now, years later, with her voice alive only in memory. I want to think about what I would tell you if I could. I would tell you this. Press record, not for social media, not for the world to see. Press record for the people you love. Press record for the voices that shape your life. Press record for the moments that seem ordinary, because ordinary is fleeting. I would tell you to listen, really listen to the laughter, the whispers, the questions, the advice, even when you think it's unimportant, even when you're busy. I would tell you to speak, not just in words. Speak in care, speak in attention, speak in love. Because one day, the voices you take for granted may be gone, and all you will have are memories and regrets, and the aching silence of what was left unrecorded. I recorded everything in my life, every laugh, every sigh, every thought, but I never recorded her voice, the one voice that mattered most. Now, I press record on my own life differently. I speak slowly. I pay attention. I listen with all that. I am her voice lives in me, in the way I call my children, in the way I fold clothes. Hum quietly. Speak softly in the way I try to notice the world around me. Her voice is gone from the air. but it is alive in the living. If I could tell her one thing now, I would say, thank you. Thank you for every word, Dot. Thank you for every moment. I thought I could ignore, Dot. Thank you for your voice, your love, your presence. I hear you now even when the world is quiet. And in this quiet, I find peace. The moral is simple. Don't wait. Don't assume there will be more time. Listen, speak, record. Remember, cherish the voices you have today, because one day may find yourself holding memories, searching for sounds that can no longer be captured, and all you can do is carry them in your heart.